different forms of linear equations. We're going to start out here with standard form. So the standard form of a linear equation is in the form capital AX plus capital BY equals C. Now it's important, there are a lot of different equations that can be equivalent and look like this, but when we say standard form, a standard is something that everybody will see exactly the same thing. So there are some restrictions that we need to have on A, B, and C. So first of all, we say that A, B, and C are integers. So we cannot have fractional values for A, B, and C, or decimal values. Okay, we have to say that A and B are not both 0. Okay, one of them could be 0. We might just have a y. We might just have the x term. But we can't have both of them 0. Okay, the leading coefficient is positive. Okay, if A is not 0, then it has to be a positive number. If A is 0, then B would have to be a positive number. So, quick example. If I had negative 2/3 x plus 1/2 y is equal to 3/5. Although that looks like ax plus by equals c, because a, b, and c are not integers, if any one of them is not an integer, here in all three cases, and my leading coefficient is not a positive number. So what I'd want to do in this particular case is find the least common denominator. So the least common multiple of 3, 2, and 5, which would be 30. Since the leading coefficient is negative, I want to multiply my entire equation by negative 30. And so the result here, negative 2/3 times negative 30 would be a positive 20. So I'd have 20x. 1/2 times negative 30 would be negative 15. So minus 15y is equal to, and then 3/5 times negative 30 would be negative 18. Now, some people would say, oh, I'm just going to switch the x and the y, and that way I don't have to multiply by the negative. If you switch the x and the y, then it's not in standard form. The only time the y value can happen first is if there is no x variable. In other words, if a is 0, then you're allowed to have the y term first. So make sure when we're putting it in standard form, it's a standard. Everybody's should be the same. It might be equivalent, but it's not standard form. Now, let's look at this particular graph, or equation, excuse me, and talk about a graph. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, quickly change it to slope-intercept form. Totally not necessary. What I can do is look at x and y intercepts just by the equation. Well, remember, for the x-intercept, y is going to have a value of 0. Well, if y has a value of 0, I just need to solve the equation 20x equals negative 18. So dividing each side by 20 and reducing, x is going to equal negative 9/10. So that's my x-intercept, negative 9/10, 0. Likewise, to find the y-intercept, I know that the x-coordinate must be 0. So I'm tasked with solving the equation negative 15y equals negative 18. Well, dividing both sides by negative 15 and simplifying, y would equal 6/5. Or 1 1/5. So now when I graph, my x-intercept is at negative 9/10, 0. So a certain amount of estimation there. My y-intercept is at the point 0 6/5. Again, a little bit of estimation. And so my line would pass through those 2 points. So here would be my equation, 20x minus 15y equals negative 18. Good idea to label those. Here's 0 6/5. Here is negative 9/10, 0.
Awesome sauce.